Peter Bernstein here, Senior Editor at TMCnet.com, and today we're talking BYOD best practices with Kurt Roemer, who is the Chief Security Strategist for Citrix.
So as Chief Security Strategist for Citrix, I'm responsible for future state security, compliance, and privacy for Citrix products. And I work on that directly with product groups, with our customers and partners, as well as part of our CTO office. So it's a pretty cool role.
Okay, so let's talk about BYOD, which seems to be the subject on everybody's mind. What should IT be considering when looking at implementing BYOD in their organization, since we all know it's basically an inevitability?
It's not only an inevitability, it's already happening in most organizations. So IT, first of all, can't be in denial that this is happening and really can't get in the way of it happening. In fact, what they should be doing is trying to embrace BYO in all of its forms and find a way to be able to use BYO securely.
And I noticed you dropped the D.
Well, BYO is more than just devices. People are bringing their own applications. They're bringing their own networking. They're going to be bringing a lot of wearable devices here soon. So it's more than just smartphones and tablets, and that's a big consideration as well. Policies, procedures, education for users need to consider BYO in all its forms.
So we're really looking at you have to manage people. You have to manage their devices, you have to manage their applications, you have to manage the networks that they're attaching to, and then you have to manage the business processes that are running off of all this stuff as well, right?
Well, somebody needs to be managing all of those, but really for IT, it comes down to managing sensitive data. And instead of IT focusing on managing absolutely everything end-to-end, which they can't do in a BYO world, they really need to focus on what's truly important to the organization. Intellectual property, things that are subject to regulations, PHI, PII, et cetera, and just making sure that those are protected at all times, even on BYO devices.
So you bring up an interesting point, which is how, in thinking about BYOD and even for people who are already pretty far down the road, how do you triage? Maybe that's a bad term, but how do you prioritize what's really important and what you should be doing?
The first thing is really for everybody to take a look at their role, their job, and identify which things are absolutely critical and which pieces of sensitive data and which applications manage those sensitive data, and be able to triage those first. I think everybody can come up with the things that matter most within their job and their role. And don't worry so much about trying to manage public data and videos and documentation that you distribute everywhere. We shouldn't be paying to protect those anymore. We should be paying just to protect the things that matter.
Is email on that list?
Email is one of the tougher issues because for a lot of people, email is where they get their most sensitive data. It's where things are sent to them that maybe they otherwise shouldn't have seen, or something that shouldn't have gone out in email in the first place. One of the good things about email, though, is there's a lot of ways to get your hands around email where you can send a sensitive email and flag it as confidential, or the DLP system or IRM system can flag it as confidential. And therefore, it automatically appears as a sensitive email, which may not go to a BYO device. So in other words, on my BYO device, if I get something right now that's digitally signed, I'll see that it's digitally signed, that I have a sensitive email, but I have to go in through application virtualization and log into the company's email system to be able to see what that is and respond to it.
So let's drill down a little bit. What's Citrix doing to allow IT to have the control that they want, but users to have the access they desire?
So Citrix is doing a few different things. First of all, if you're in a traditional end-to-end managed model, we do have MDM, or mobile device management, available as part of our Zen Mobile suite. We also within Zen Mobile have mobile application management. So you can have a container or bubble on a BYO device that's managed by the enterprise. All the applications are managed, data is managed, connectivity is managed, even things like an application-specific VPN. So you don't have to remember as a user to turn your VPN on and off. The application does it for you automatically. So that gives a container or bubble, if you will, on the device managed by the enterprise that, somebody can have on their BYO device. And the enterprise can remote wipe it and update it and other things like that. So it makes it pretty easy. And then
so basically separation of my various personas, especially my work persona from my other one, is really the top priority.
Absolutely, and that's one way to do it if you need to have micro apps on the device. The other traditional Citrix way of doing this is through Citrix Receiver, where that gives you access to virtual applications and virtual desktops that are running back in the data center. And of course, you can do that from a smartphone or tablet as well.
So let me ask you an opinion on where we are in terms of A, corporate culture, B, acceptance by IT of these kinds of solutions, and whether you think we're at a tipping point in the industry, or whether 2014 going forward from here is going to be the year that these kinds of solutions finally take off.
Yeah, that's a great question. I personally think we're past the tipping point for corporate culture. BYO phenomenon has already happened. People are using it, taking advantage of it, reaping all of its gains. What hasn't happened yet is IT in general hasn't found a great way to get their hands around managing sensitive data. And so my advice to IT departments is go out and talk to your users, find out what they're doing, find out what they need to protect, and help them either through MDM, through containers, through virtualization, be able to help manage sensitive data on their personal devices.
What are you advising IT in terms of engaging upper management and all the stakeholders that they need in order to, A, get this implemented, and B, then get compliance?
Yeah, IT really needs to be working with senior management and letting them know that the risk profile has changed because of BYO. And all these great productivity gains with BYO does come at a cost to risk. And so instead of throwing out BYO, let's find a way to be able to manage applications, be able to manage sensitive data and file sharing and things like that, which is a benefit for BYO, but also benefits the enterprise in general, who've had these issues for years. BYO just brings them to the forefront.
And I'm assuming when you go in, you have demonstrable business cases to show what the benefits are, not just from a risk standpoint, but also in terms of personal productivity, the virtualization of the workforce and all that kind of good stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Take a look at your road warrior who used to either have a completely locked down PC, which was unusable to them, or something that was completely wide open and they had administrative privileges and were constantly getting viruses and having issues. Now we can have a happy medium there. Take a look at somebody who works in healthcare, who may work for several different hospitals and clinics and needs to have a different persona for each of those and a different set of applications for each of those. They may have had to have carried multiple devices in the past. Now, on a single device, even a tablet, they can connect up to whichever environment's appropriate for them, even logging in to one hospital's environment from another and knowing that all that data is going to be secured and separated.
So, final words of advice to the IT professionals out there who I've actually characterized as at the moment going through IT anarchy. Is that an accurate characterization, and what comfort can you give them?
Yeah, IT anarchy is kind of interesting. IT really needs to be their worst enemy in terms of understanding how BYO is functioning and what's out there. Tell the IT department, put your corporate laptop aside for a while and run off of BYO completely for a month. See what your challenges are, see what your hopes and fears are, and realize that your users are going through it. Design for usability, design for user experience. You're going to find the best solution that's going to work for you and for the organization. It's not about security primarily. It's about user experience, because if you design for user experience, the right security will follow.
So there you have it. Words of wisdom from the Chief Security Strategist of Citrix. I want to thank you, Kurt, for joining us, and look forward to seeing you.
Thank you, Peter.